Welcome to the Friends of Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I am Justin Mason, joined by Dave McDonald. Dave, how you doing?
Good, Justin. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. It's not Monday. It's Tuesday.
It is
Doing
not.
things, doing something a little bit different. Doing a little day later. We had to. You had some family obligations, so
I did. Yeah, I appreciate you moving it back for me.
Hey, don't thank me. Thank my wife, who said wanted me to pass along the message of "fuck
There we
you."
go. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so, we are going to continue our conversation from last week in which we went through the ADP. We're using NFBC Draft Champions ADP from pretty much Christmas to now. And we're going to pick a player, at least one player we like at the cost and one player we dislike at the cost, and kind of see where that takes us. And we're going to try to go 10 rounds again. We'll see how long it takes us.
All right.
So nothing to talk about up front. So no news or notes really at this point. So let's dive right in. And why don't you tell me who you like at the price in round 16?
So round 16, which we're using NFBC 15-team Draft Champions ADP from Christmas to today, which would be the 18th of January. And these would be picks 225 through 240. My choice was I changed it actually because I had kind of talked about the guy I initially had a good amount already. I decided to go with Joe Adele here. Honestly, it's a guy who really started to figure it out late in the season. And if you look at all of his stats, like late in the year, everything started trending up near the end. Like his contact rate improved. This guy has a 9% barrel rate, 113.4 max EV. His contact and zone contact rate, both on the rise. He can steal some bases. He's got some good power. So, I mean, this is a guy who can hit 25 homers and steal you close to 10 bags. It's really just the average that should kind of hopefully come along. But, if you can get a 250-ish average from him, that's great. And in round 16, this is the kind of upside guy that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an Adele guy. I wonder if he's going to be able to maintain like the 22, 23% strikeout rate that he put up once he got called up to the majors in August. I'm still a little concerned about the profiles. Still swings a lot outside of the zone. He did make better contact, once he made his call up. So I'm hopeful, and I don't mind this price. You're not having to pay a huge price. You're having to pay on like Jared Kalenic. It's not a bad call. There's a number of guys in this round that are interesting to me. Like, Seiya Suzuki. Once he signs somewhere, he's going to shoot up like 30, 40 spots. So, like, if you want to take the gamble on Suzuki, now's the time. Now, of course, it is a gamble that he signs. We saw this with Saganu last year, where people were drafting him, and then he didn't sign. So, but it seems pretty likely that Suzuki is going to sign. AJ Pollock always seems like a guy who, especially with the addition to the DH, which seems very likely at this point. They'll be able to kind of protect him a little bit. French Lindell is a guy that I was very out on at the beginning of draft season, but the more and more I dig into him, the more I'm becoming kind of like, okay, I see what's going on here. He makes a ton of contact. He kind of represents one of the last guys at first base I feel somewhat comfortable about rostering.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of guys at first that I'm comfortable with. Later.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he doesn't hurt. Unless he falls off, but there's no reason to think he will. He doesn't hurt you in any category, really. I mean, obviously, he doesn't give you speed, but, he's not like a draining batting average. He should hit in the middle of that lineup in Chicago. There's no one really there to risk, taking his playing time from him. So, Schwindel, I think, is a little bit underrated. I'm always a Josh Rojas guy. So,
really? Okay.
Yeah. Power, speed. I do think there's another level to him, triple eligible. I'm surprised you didn't talk about Jesus Sanchez. Was he the guy you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with him, but I've talked about him enough, so I wanted to find a guy who I really hadn't mentioned yet.
Okay. So I talked at length about Jesus Sanchez on today's Sleeper of the Bus podcast. So if you want to hear
Oh, okay.
my in-depth thoughts about him, but I mean, I think he is a legit 30 to 40 home run hitter if he can get 600 plate appearances. So
Yeah, it's going to be
um,
really tough for me to get away from drafting him because
yeah.
I love him. But Adele was a good another guy, and like there's a bunch of guys and the guys you mentioned earlier, AJ Pollock, Seiya
Yep.
Suzuki. I also think Kiki Hernandez is great too. I
Hmm.
mean he's got a lot of power. I really liked what he did last year. I think he got a little unlucky in his results, but he doesn't have the speed aspect and he doesn't have the upside that Sanchez has. So I don't think I'll end up with Kiki, but he is also second base eligible in addition to outfield.
That's true. Lane Thomas, I mean, he was leading off for the Nationals. A little pop, little speed. He's I think with the way the Nationals are currently constructed, I think he could lead off again for them and hit in front of Soto and get driven in and score a ton of runs. So I think he's another really interesting guy
I'm a little
at this spot too.
skeptical. I'm a little skeptical of him and Schwindel and anybody really who kind of breaks out later. I just it's possible that they maintain what they did last year, but I'm not completely sold. And there's just a bunch of guys in this area that I like more ultimately.
That's fair.
Um, I also want to give one quick word on Joe Adele. From August 25th, his K percentage was 30.5%. He kind of hovered there for a while, and then it plummeted all the way down to 15% by his last game in September. So September 11th. That's a short sample for sure.
Very
But
true.
this guy really improved his K percentage like drastically. So I don't think there's I don't think there's a ton of risk there, and he's such a good prospect that it all kind of fits. You know, it's not like he's some guy that came out of nowhere. Like you can buy that he is probably that good.
Yeah, I mean Adele, like the tools have never been in question. The question is, can he make enough contact to let those tools shine through?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I mean, and there's some defensive concerns too, also because I mean, in spite of the fact that he's an amazing athletic beast, like for some reason he can't figure out how to play defense. So those are two big concerns. I think the Angels will give him a chance. So I think they're going to give him a shot to play every day. I don't think they want Justin Upton out there in the outfield every day. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Who's the guy you're fading in this round?
So the guy I'm fading is Waskari Noah, and it's simply because anytime a guy, we weren't expecting him to put out major innings last year, and then he got hurt, and then he came back, and then he hurt himself again. He had a shoulder injury in October, late in the playoffs, the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, this whole offseason with the lockout, we're not going to hear anything about any news or anything. The rehabbing players can't use the team's facilities during the lockout. So, when it comes to rehabbing from an injury that scares me, like a shoulder injury for a pitcher, I'm not really willing to fuck around. So I'm just going to be out on Noah this year.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm taking the gamble when he falls late, and I've gotten him in a number of different spots. I have him in our FBAS league, and I though I did draft him before I think his second injury. Unfortunately, the one time you drafted the offseason, you drafted before someone's injury. Like that. So, but I've also drafted him in a couple other spots when he falls outside of the top 300. I just think there's a ton of upside, and I think if he's healthy, he could be,
All right, well, Justin, the name of the game here is in or out at pick 225 to 240, not after 300.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Moving the goalpost on me, buddy.
Average draft position. He's average. He's falling way outside of that at times. Would I take him in this round? No, I wouldn't take him in this round.
I'm saying he should be a major avoid in this round. If you're talking after 300, I'm probably still out, but I mean, there's a chance that I take. It depends on the offseason news. I'm not drafting him until I hear something. But
my avoid, there aren't really a ton of avoids here.
It's a nice grouping here.
It's a good round. I think it's Syndergaard. And I think we talked about this in the last episode.
Yeah.
We talked about Tommy John returning guys. I never draft those guys in the first year back. And I know he came back and pitched 2 innings or something like that. I'm just not, for first time in new park, new division. I'm just not. I'm not gonna play around with it, especially at the cost.
I am kind of curious that because him and Severino very, very similar. Like they got Tommy John around the same time. He had his about a month after Severino did, and then they both returned as a reliever for a couple of outings, and that was it. Is it just that you really liked what you saw from Severino compared to Syndergaard? Because ultimately,
I mean, we barely saw anything from Syndergaard. We only saw I think 2 innings. Was it?
What do we see from Severino? 4 outings? Like it's not much more.
Yeah, it's something though. I mean, and I just.
All right, I don't know.
There were setbacks with the elbow with Syndergaard. I think that's the major difference.
Okay,
is like he had setbacks with the elbow. I'm just, I'm probably not rostering Severino on many leagues. I mean, I'm 5 drafts in. I haven't drafted him once, so I've only got 10 drafts to go, or less than 10 drafts to go.
Well, he was one of the guys that you brought up in our first half, right? Or one of the last pods that you're talking about how you liked him as a pick. Right?
It wasn't that I liked him. It's kind of I'm not necessarily afraid of it as much as I'm afraid of Verlander, especially like Verlander. Just like I don't understand people drafting him where he's gone. Much less once they see him on a mound, he's going to go up. He's gonna be like a top 15 starter by the end of the draft season if he doesn't get hurt spring training.
That's crazy. So, no, I won't have any of those 3. So I mean, I know that's not a shock, but yeah.
No. All right, let's move on to the next round. Who are you taking here?
All right, this is now getting into picks 240 to 255. I decided to go with Brandon Belt. He's a guy who, the Giants are obviously known as a team that loves their platoons. But when he was mashing the ball, they did sit him occasionally versus lefties. Maybe it was versus tough lefties. I can't remember exactly, but I do know that he also played versus a fair amount of lefties too. So he's more or less an everyday player. He does have some injury issues, obviously. But I just believe in him as a hitter. Like I think he's just a legitimately very good hitter. He hits the ball hard. Doesn't matter that he's in San Fran, like he can hit it out anywhere. It's not a pick that I might not make a ton just because of the playing time concerns and everything, but I do really like him in that offense, and I think he was when he was going, he was a guy, he was extremely playable last year. And it's just I keep finding guys every round at first base that I can take, and he's another one.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with him. Just not, like I mean, the way the Giants platoon, his injury history, I can't pull the trigger unless I'm in a daily moves league. If I can move, or daily lineups league, like if I can move a guy in and out daily, then yes, okay, I can use him. I can send him versus when he's going up against a lefty, or when he's nicked up, because the problem is Brandon Belt not only gets nicked up, but like he gets nicked up and like misses days. Like he doesn't miss weeks necessarily where you can replace him. He's like the guy who's always like, oh, he's day to day. He's only going to play twice this week, and that's just a killer when you're playing in weekly lineups or like NFBC style where you can switch in and out. Twice a week. Like it just crushes you to only see a guy play 2 games in a week. I just can't do it. As much as I love my Giants, but Brandon Belt, I can't.
No, yeah, you have to be objective when it comes to playing fantasy baseball. I wanted to say Bobby Dahlbeck, but I just felt like he was getting enough love from everybody else already. So
I don't get the Bobby Dahlbeck love. Like I really don't. Like
okay,
like, I understand. Like and I understand why people. So I guess I get. But like this is
you get it. You don't agree with it.
Yeah, it's so Charlie Brown kicking the football. Like it's. Like, we saw this before. Like, we've seen this story before. Like, oh, look, he made a change. And then he reverts right back to the player he was. Like, again, I'm fine with him, I guess, at his price. But, like, this idea that he's going to turn such huge profit for his people, I don't know. He is who he thought he was. Like, I mean, he's a low average guy with a ton of power. which is fine if that's what you're looking for. And he murders lefties. So if you got a bunch of lefties coming up, he's great. But I prefer using him in DFS as opposed to in a season-long league.
Okay. I mean, a lot of people point to the late season trends, so I guess it's just depending on whether you think that those hold or not.
But people said that last year too. Like people. Paul is in the chat. Can't escape Bobby Dahlbeck. We'll escape him right now.
That's why I didn't even consider bringing him up. I'm like, I hear Bobby Dahlbeck fucking everywhere. I don't even want to talk about him again.
So the guy in this round for me, like there aren't a lot of guys in this round I honestly like. I guess I'll go with I'll go with Alejandra Kirk, who is a guy that I was kind of out on, and now I'm starting to get more and more in on. Now, this is based on the thought that I think Toronto's going to trade one of their catchers.
I was going to say, I was going to put him as my avoid. The only reason I didn't is because he would be great if they made a trade, but I think that he would be the guy that they would trade, right? Like, I don't think they're considering...
No, I think they get more value from Jansen or McGuire. So
I don't know. I've heard a lot more buzz around them trading Kirk.
I don't care. Fine, trade Kirk. Trade Kirk. Get him full-time playing time anywhere. The dude can hit. He can't catch, but he can hit.
Right. Right.
15 teams in the National League need a DH now.
Yeah.
I mean, give me that, guy who is going to, play every day as a DH with catcher eligibility for one more year, and I'm on board. Though I will say, I just hate this round. This is one of those, don't worry about this round of ADP. Look for guys later that you like that should belong in this one.
Yeah, there's a couple of pitchers with Alex Cobb and Bailey Ober, but I'm still trying to formulate my opinion on them. I do like them a bit, but didn't want to pick them. And Michael Brantley, I think, is solid, but I don't know how much you're really going to get out of him at this point.
Yeah, Paul is saying that the Rotograph's depth charts is saying that Moreno will actually play this year, and that they have 4 Major League ready catchers. They should trade one or two of them because they
will. Yeah.
Maybe they need relief pitching. So maybe there is a deal to be made with someone for, catcher for a relief pitcher. Maybe a team like Seattle, would make some sense or.
Definitely a guy who could come into consideration. But if I'm drafting today, I'm not drafting Kirk at that cost. I mean, I'm not really drafting him, period, because in a DC, I'm looking for guaranteed at-bats, and he ain't that right now.
Oh, here we go. Paul says Jansen for Kimbrel. I think I'd be fine with that. I think Chicago might want a little bit more, but
does Paul want to come on and join us?
Yeah, I can send Paul the link if he wants. Let's talk about
Paul show.
Let's talk about who we're fading in this round.
Who did you? What was the last one he said too?
What? Jansen backs up Grandal. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, Jansen. Okay.
Danny Jansen traded for Kimbrel.
Okay. Jansen traded for Kimbrel.
No, Paul says he's just trying to take over. See, this is what happens. You guys, if you guys want, you can come and watch these live streams when Dave and I do them. You can also watch the replay on YouTube if you want. But
I feel like these have to be just infuriating to listen to when you don't have the visual of this because you don't know what we just stop talking and answer the people in the chat and there are people.
That's why I try to read out. That's why I try to read out what people are saying. If people don't like it, sorry.
This reminds me of First Pitch Arizona during your NFBC panel. One
Paul was a special guest.
Paul was just talking the entire time. It was like, oh, is this his panel? It was Paul and Rob Silver.
Yeah, all we need now is Michael Govier raising his hand and go, Michael Govier here.
That was so good.
Who are you fading this round?
Oh, man. I'm trying to even remember where we are. Okay, Andrew Vaughn is who I'm fading. He's a guy who I don't dislike his future. I don't dislike his skills, honestly. I don't think that they're giving him playing time right now. I don't see it. They had the opportunities last season. Like they were playing guys like Sheets and Goodwin over him. Like it just, I don't know where the at-bats are going to come from right now. So I don't see why I'm going to take him in the 17th round.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I see what you're saying, but I mean, he did get 97 or 197 plate appearances in the second half.
Look at the game breakdown, man. He sat a lot.
Yeah. I he's not a guy that I'm willing to pay this price on necessarily, but like I don't have a problem with it. I think there's definitely better fades in this round, to be honest. But I don't necessarily mind it. I already talked about Dahlbeck, Ken Giles, like that whole Seattle bullpen is an absolute fucking mess. Like I
try not to even say closers because we can do this every round with closer, like with the non-closer closers. So obviously I thought like Giles was the easy pick. Whitlock, who knows what he's doing in Boston or Barnes, but I don't know. I didn't see many other guys that I was like straight fading other than those two.
Adam Duvall is a guy Paul and I talked about today, and I was like, oh, I think he's fair the price. But then you look at the guys going around him or going after him, and I would much rather have like a bunch of those guys. So I think like Duvall is he's fine for what he does and stuff. But I just think there's so many more interesting guys in this spot or around this spot that I think there's like zero chance I end up with any shares of Adam Duvall this year.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next round. We're just going to ignore Paul in the chat. Who do you have as your guy you're targeting in this round?
I have Anthony Santander. My
boy.
He was playing through several different injuries last year. The numbers don't look great, but he still was able to put up 18 homers. 241 average, but I think he still has that 25 to 30 home run power there. And I, he can hit like 260, I think. The max CV is good. The barrel rate is good. He's got an 8.5 barrel rate last year, 10.2 in 2020 short season, but max CV is around 113. He's got good contact rates too, 77.5% contact rate, 84.1% zone contact. I mean, at least for a power hitter, this is pretty good. I know that they moved the fence back in left field, but he is a switch hitter, so the majority of the time he'll be hitting lefty and pulling it to right field, so won't affect him as much as the righties in that lineup. So it's a crappy lineup, don't get me wrong, but I do like Santander to get some power in this area.
Yeah, only 5 of his home runs went to left field last year, and I believe all 5 would have cleared the new fence. So I'm not 100% sure. I know 2 for sure would have cleared it, but I'm pretty sure the other 3 were either pretty close or definitely would have. So I don't know that the fence is going to bother him too much. I'm a big fan of Santander. I think he could potentially be 30, 35 homers this year in a lineup that continues to get better and better.
Yeah.
So as long as he's healthy, I mean, health is the thing that kept him from reaching those kind of goals last year. He was good when he's in the lineup, but he's got only got 438 plate appearances last year because of health. So
there's different types of injury risks. They're not all the same, right? Like I don't think, and I'll have to go back and look, but I don't think any of his past injuries or anything that are going to be like holding him back moving forward. Like I don't think there's anything that's several years of the same kind of injury or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Santander call. He's a guy that I've already drafted a few times this year. This is another one of these rounds where I really like a lot of
pitchers.
A lot of the guys, especially pitchers. I'm a Cal Quantrill guy. Been drafting him just about everywhere. I love Steven Matz. You and I talked before we even got on air about he was a guy that I considered with that first pick once our FPAS draft restarted. Tell
me about my boy Cal Quantrill because I'm trying to get there.
What don't you like? I mean, good command, good control, doesn't give up home runs. On a team who I really trust in terms of their coaching for pitchers. I know he doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but I feel pretty safe that his rotation spot is locked in there, and pedigree. I mean, I think he's going to volume his way to being a really, really good pitcher. Now, I did drop him in my ranks because I had him way too high early on. But that's because of the lack of strikeouts. But I think he could be very Chris Bassett-ish, and I'm a big fan of Chris Bassett. So
Okay. I mean, maybe he can be. I'm not sure. I mean, Chris Bassett obviously has the track record. The thing for me is strikeouts are the one thing with starters that you can count on the most. So if I'm not getting that, I'm a little skeptical of the overall package. Like I think he might be like an 8 strikeout per 9 kind of guy, and somewhere in that range. But I don't know. In general, that's not what I'm looking for.
that's
Yeah, I
fair.
don't
But I
know.
mean, I'd rather take the guy that I feel has, this late that has a little bit safer floor, and maybe doesn't have a huge ceiling, than a guy who might bomb me out early on in the season. And I end up having to drop. So, and there are a lot of people who disagree with me on that. Like a
Well,
lot of people don't
do you
like.
think he's safer than Matt's?
Um, no, I think Matt's
Yeah,
the
I
same.
mean that's the thing. I feel like what are you getting from him that you can't get from Matt's is kind of and
I
I
love
don't think,
Matt's. Like I've got Matt's
yeah,
higher in my rank. So,
yeah.
I think Matt's is easily the steal of this round.
I think John
Like,
Gray probably has more upside than both of them.
but we just
But
don't know what John Gray is yet. Like as much as I
yeah,
love the upside and potential in getting out of Colorado, like we just don't really know what he is yet outside of Colorado. Like he's put up years where he was fantastic in Colorado and awful on the road. And he's put up years where he's, awful at home in Colorado and great on the road. I'm sure he's going to be a little bit of both of that, anyways. Like I think, often these guys who leave Colorado, whether hitters or pitchers, like they don't just like take their road numbers with them, right? Like they're a mix of the two when they
right.
leave. Look at guys like Corey Dickerson, right?
Yep.
When he left Colorado. So I like John Gray. Like honestly, like I've been saying this for a while. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but at some point I will do a draft in which like uh, I don't like take early pitching at all. Like I maybe don't even draft the starter for the first 7 or 8 rounds, or maybe it's in an auction where I can just invest all my money in offense, and then really just like target a lot of these guys, in these later rounds, and see how it works out, just as a kind of gamble type thing. It may be Tout Wars. That may be where I do it. So
Yeah.
uh, just because this is one of the reasons why I don't love taking a ton of starting pitching early, because I just really like a lot of the guys going late.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get the strikeouts and elsewhere, yeah.
Yeah. Who do you dislike in this tier?
Yeah, it's Casey Mize, and it's another guy who just doesn't get strikeouts. I know that obviously being the number 1 overall pick, he's got that hype. I'm sure Paul has some thoughts here, but yeah, I don't think he's very good. I mean, I think he's mid 4s ERA kind of guy. His results were better than that this year, but I mean, it's kind of like Quantrill, where the underlying stats, I don't know if they're going to be able to consistently outpitch their peripherals with their stuff. So I don't know. Just never been a big fan of what he provides here.
That's interesting. I mean, I kind of disagree. I think he's still learning. I think he's still kind of growing. I like the fact that he did a better job at homer suppression in the second half. He's never going to be a big strikeout guy. That's true. Like if you're looking for strikeouts late, he's not a guy I'm searching for. But like I think he could continue to grow and be a guy who maybe it's only like 8 strikeouts per 9, but delivers good ratios on a team that's getting better, defense that is getting better behind him. With Javi Baez back there now too. So I actually don't mind Mize at all. Definitely not a guy I'm necessarily targeting, but I've seen him drop in a number of drafts, and that's usually when I'm willing to pounce.
See, I just feel like these are the kind of guys that you're going to be able to find on waivers throughout the year. Like, Phil didn't win the overall with guys like Casey Mize. He took guys like Robbie Ray, Carlos Rodon, guys that have that strikeout upside. I just don't see a point in taking guys like this, honestly. Like, if I wanted someone who's safe that doesn't, strike out a ton, I can find a more reliable source than this guy. And I just feel like this is where I want to be taking those shots finding those guys who can be the impact player, and I don't see a point in him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair. Comparing like what Phil did to
Phil, it
what
doesn't.
I mean.
Whoever wins anything, it doesn't. It's not about what Phil did. It's just about
Mhm.
like the things he was looking for, and the things that we should all be looking for. I think is you want those guys who can be those impact players, and it starts, I think, with strikeouts. If you can't strike guys out, you're allowing a lot more contact, and there's only a handful of guys who can successfully year over year be good, all with allowing weak contacts only and without the strikeouts.
Yeah, I think I think we're putting too much into Phil having just a dream season. Not to say like he didn't, like he did everything right. Like I'm not taking anything away from him. I like the repeatability of that is just like you're not going to find like two top 10 pitchers in the last two rounds very often. Like it's he
I
had the
mean, I had a
amazing eye
team that
for
I
it.
drafted. I had a team that I drafted those two on also. Like I'm, it's not Phil specific. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
I think you should be looking for those types of arms at this point. I don't think you need a guy like this, like low ceiling. I don't even think the floor is that high, honestly. Like I think he could be like a 4.5 ERA guy.
that's fair. I mean, I just don't think he's. No, I see where you're coming from. I'm gonna say who I dislike in this tier. And I get a lot of pushback on this one, but
Oh
I,
boy.
I just I'm done with Herman Marquez. Like I'm just absolutely
Okay.
done with him. And like I understand the upside, and this may be a guy you kind of like because he does have huge upside if you ever were to figure it out, for a full season. But I never know when to use him. Like I just never know. And like if you used him on the road last year, you got crushed. Like I mean, he was better at home. So like I don't want to deal with the headache of Coors pitchers outside of like an innings eater at the like 48th round of a DC. Like I just don't want a Marquez guy. It just I don't want to deal with the headache.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. He is he is extremely frustrating to own, and even if he's good for 90% of the year, those 10% that he's not good are usually massive blowups. Like he'll give up like 10 to 12 runs
And
in
you
an
just never know
outing.
when they're coming. Like they just
Yeah, yeah,
like I
yeah.
mean, when he was electric on the road, you're like, okay, I can sit him at home and play him on the road and like get a really, really good really great pitcher, and then but like last year he flipped on you. And so like if you used him, you probably ate all of his bad starts. It didn't get a lot of his good ones. It's just not worth fucking around with. Like I'm just not
Pretty
gonna play the
much.
game.
Yeah.
So now we're moving in around 19, picks 270 to 285. Who you got?
Yeah, so I've got Josiah Gray here. And for stretches last year, he looked phenomenal. And I know that the uh, you know, overall numbers were not good, 5.5 ERA, 1.36 whip, but this guy just has awesome, phenomenal stuff. I mean, he has two different pitches with a 45% plus whiff rate. So, I mean, he's got everything that you're looking for in a guy who can take that huge step forward. 14.3% swinging strike rate. Granted, pretty small sample, 71 innings last year, but that's enough to be able to see who he is as a player. Obviously, he needs polish, and he's a guy who you might not want to start at the beginning of the year, especially in tough matchups. But if we're talking about a DC here, I think he's a guy who, maybe a month or two into the season is going to become a stalwart in your rotation that you're not going to want to take out.
Yeah, I love Josiah Gray. Another one of those guys that I continue to target and rate this, right about this spot. I do think that there is, an opportunity for him to take another step forward. I think he's in that rotation. That rotation, especially if Strasburg isn't healthy and unable to pitch. I think he's going to be kind of a stalwart of that rotation for a really long time. So we got a lot of chatter going on in the chat on Twitch. So definitely.
Just for the record, I can't see any of it, so I have no
Okay,
idea.
we got Cubby Nola and Paul Spore talking a whole bunch of stuff. So we
Oh
appreciate
boy,
them coming out and supporting us.
definitely. Thanks, guys.
The guy I want to talk about is Max Kepler. He went hit 19 home runs, stole 10 bases last year. 2019 he hit 36 home runs. I think that he's going to play every day. I think this is a contract year for him. Not that I buy into contract year philosophy, but I think he's just underrated. I think people have kind of forgotten about him and kind of given up on him a little bit. I know the average was really down the last 2 years, but he's also been dealing with some pretty low BABIPs as well. So I'm a big Kepler guy. What say you?
I'm open to changing my mind here, but no, I have not been a big Kepler guy. The low average is certainly a thing. In the short season, I don't want to count that, but he was at 228, 211 last year, and then 224 in 2018, 243, 2017, 252 is his highest. He had a monster year in 2019. I know that he can do that kind of thing. The other thing that I don't know. I just don't love. I don't like rostering twins who don't play every day because they shuffle that lineup around so much, and he's a guy who will probably not approach 600, plate appearances. He'll probably be more around 500, which he was last year too. But he does steal some bases. The barrel rate doubled from 2020 to 2021 to almost 11%. So he could be still developing as a hitter. He's 28. He is also a lefty, though, and lefties always scare me because they're the first type of guy that gets platooned. And this is a team that could use platoons. I mean, he seems like the perfect candidate to be platooned, frankly. And he probably was, more or less. I'd have to go back and look. Unfortunately, it's down on Fangraphs right now, but 157 average versus lefties last year. Career 209 hitter versus lefties, and it's a massive split. Like, you can tell that he's much better against righties, and like I said, managers are always looking for any reason to bench you if you're a lefty or platoon you if you're a lefty. So the second you start struggling, I don't know. I just don't see myself owning any Kepler this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think you're sleeping on him a little bit. You look at the Statcast page, it's all pink and red. Like, it's, he doesn't have a single blue, really good understanding and control of the strike zone. We know there's pop in that bat. He showed off the speed. There's potential for him to get platoon because he definitely struggled against lefties.
Yeah.
But I think, when you're talking about a 19th rounder, a guy that, all it takes is one injury and they don't platoon him. If Brent Rooker goes down or something like that. So, and I think there's an opportunity with Nelson Cruz gone. There's more plate appearances. Is Alex Kirilloff ready for full-time work? Is he going to be healthy? I think there's a lot of opportunities for him to exceed kind of the expectations in terms of his plate appearances. Who are you fading in this round?
It's Julio Rodriguez. I just don't think he's going to spend a significant portion of the season with Seattle. I mean, super, talented guy. And I don't know. I could be wrong. I haven't heard anything otherwise. But, he's again, when he's ready, I think he'll be really good. But I don't know that he'll be really good right when he comes up anyways. But I just don't see him getting much time in Seattle this year. So I don't really know, why are we taking him at a point where we can get like guys who, this is a DC. This is not the time to draft prospects in general, and definitely not this high.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I really don't. I mean, 273. You want to take a gamble in a DC, then he comes up. You'll have someone but you have to just limit the amount of gambles you can take, right? Like, for every guy you do gamble on, you gotta you have to pass up on another guy. So
in DCs, you really don't want gambles though. You just want production. Like, that's not.
That's how I tend to play too. But every once in a while, it's nice to take a little gamble on someone. Like, you're not gonna spend all 50 rounds on guys who are guaranteed playoff or plate appearances, because not everybody 50 rounds in are guaranteed plate appearances. So
I mean, he was only in Double-A last year. I just don't think they're gonna bring what's the rush to bring him up now?
If Seattle thinks they're competing, if
Do
Seattle starts out hot, I would not be surprised if he's up at the end of April.
at the
Like
end of April,
yeah,
really? That would surprise me a lot.
He is polished and he is legit. That being said, I can also see the scenario that he doesn't come up until end of June, July, August. Like
if at all.
I
I
think
mean, people thought that Bobby Witt was going to be up last year, and he wasn't up at
yeah,
all.
but the Royals
Joe Adele
blow.
wasn't up for several months, and then when he was,
Joe Adele was blowed at that point. Like I mean, like you know, the Royals weren't good. Seattle's good. Like Seattle is, you know, and they may decide that hey, this is the guy who gives us an opportunity to win right now. You know, and so if they, you know, I think we'll have an idea of whether or not he's coming up pretty early on.
I think if you want to take a guy who you think could, if you want to take a risk with a prospect, I think a guy like Josh Jung, who is also in this area, makes a lot more sense because they're actually talking about possibly him starting with the team. Like that's different to me because
I would rather have Jung for this year.
Yeah.
So,
I don't agree that I think it is that type of guy, a double-A player who the team has not talked about bringing up, drafting him into DC. I think, especially this early, I think it's a wasted pick.
Okay, that's fair. I don't really have a major fade in this round. I mean, I guess I'll go with Mike Zunino, just because I don't like players who are going to hit like below 200. Like I just, you know, I know he's a catcher and most catchers suck anyways, but yeah, I don't like bad players. So we do have a question from the chat. Paul Sporer, I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's asked, would you rather take J-Rod in a draft hold or a main?
I mean, neither, because if he's not going to be up and you're not going to be able to use him in the main, I mean, you can't take him in either, really. I mean, I don't know. That's all. I mean, because he's not going to. I don't even think they're considering him for spring training. Like, there's guys like Stott and Jung and guys like that.
He says, "Pick one, asshole."
All right, Paul, you got me. I guess it's got to be a DC then, because there is 0% chance that I can hold him in a main.
We got in an argument about this on a recent podcast where I said you can't take stashes.
No. Especially in COVID, like even in a normal year in NFBC, you can't stash guys generally, but in COVID, you're going to need all of those bench slots and more. So there's a 0% chance I'm taking him in a main.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next round, we've got round 20, which are picks 285 through 300. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I try to find someone else because I talk about him too much, but I couldn't really find someone else that I was very high on in this area. So I went with Tyler Mcgill. He's just a guy who I think has all of the makeup to be a breakout pitcher this year. I mean, he's got the K rate, he's got the low walk rate. I think he's one of the top K- walk rate guys of last year. You know, there are some downsides, obviously, the reasons that he's going this late. He struggled mightily against lefties, but I don't know. I think he's got, you know, he throws 95. Thanks, Paul. You know, I just think he's got the whole package. He's got a slider, he's got the change. He's on the Mets. I don't know what else people would want to see from someone without the results being there. I mean, the Sierra was 3.85 last year. Love it.
Paul says less than Dave those Mize and Vaughn takes. More than Dave friggin' the Mcgill heat. My biggest issue with Mcgill is I'm not 100% sure he's going to end up being in the rotation. Which, right now he's their number 5 guy, and I worry that the Mets are going to bring in another guy. Now, that doesn't mean he won't find his way in the rotation at some point, because their rotation is made up of Jacob DeGrom, who has got some injury concerns.
Does he?
Max
I've been
Scherzer,
told he doesn't.
Max Scherzer is 85. Taijuan Walker, who has injury concerns. Carlos
Carrasco. Right.
So,
who do you have projected at the end of the rotation then? Like Lucchese?
Oh no! I think they're going to bring someone else in.
Okay. I mean, I am 1,000% sure that DeGrom, Taijuan Walker, and Carlos Carrasco, between them, will definitely miss serious time. And this being a DC, he's an even better pick because even if he's out for the beginning of this, if it's not in the rotation right away, he will be.
Yeah, Paul says I'm allergic to 6 starters in this mystical universe where every team only uses 5 guys. That's my only concern with him. I actually like him as a pitcher, so I don't disagree with Dave. I just wanted to bring that up. The guy that I am targeting, I mean, this shouldn't be like this is one's obvious, right? It's Andrew Heaney, baby. I've been an Andrew Heaney guy forever. He's now going to the Dodgers, which means it will sting me to see him have a Robbie Ray-esque breakout.
Get out of here.
Like, you're talking about, like, hey, we're looking for the next Robbie Ray, right? We're looking for the next Logan Webb. Andrew Heaney can be that guy. He strikes guys out. All he's got to do is keep the ball in the yard and stay healthy. But,
all he has to do is be able to pitch over 100 innings. He's never been able to do that shit.
How dare you?
Here we go. Go look him up.
He's pitched over 100 innings before. I know for a fact he's pitched over 100. Threw 129 last year, threw 180 in 2018.
Wow, you really got me there. In 7-8 seasons, he's thrown over 100 innings twice. Great.
But I mean, the Dodgers need him to throw. Like, that Dodgers rotation is great at the top, and Paul wants to. He said, Paul saying, you were just the one cutting Carlos Rodon as your sleeper last year. Andrew Heaney isn't good enough for you. It's a great fucking.
Carlos Rodon was like my last round pick, but that's fine. I mean,
we're in round 20 regular.
Yeah. Here's the thing: you can take Heaney when he inevitably gets hurt. You can drop him. Like I don't honestly have a problem with it. I'm just giving you shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's the guy worth gambling on. He pitched in 30 games this last year, and the Dodgers seem to figure out how to fix everybody. So I'm really excited, not as a Giants fan, but as a fantasy player for Andrew Heaney this year. So who are you fading in this round?
I mean, I just said Devin Williams because it might not even be, legit because it's so easy. But I mean, it's like, why am I taking, a reliever who's not closing at this point? I don't know. I mean, he's got great skills, but what am I? I can get guys who can give me really good rate stats much later in a DC. That's just not what my focus will be on in this early.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think the guy that I'm fading, because this is a really small grouping. I think there's only like 8 or 9 guys right here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of choices, honestly.
I'm guessing. Actually, I really don't have one.
I mean, I don't like Luis Reyes at all either. I mean, the only thing is,
I don't mind Reyes at all.
He's second, third, and outfield eligible. But they don't play him every day. So, the Twins again. I don't love that, and he doesn't really give you anything. I mean, he's a good average, but
yeah, it's batting average fluff. So I mean, I understand that. I guess if I'm gonna fade someone, it's Jesus Luzardo. Health. The dude has not been able to stay on the field. Like he just, as
opposed to Heaney, who definitely stays on the field.
Heaney has shown the ability to stay on the field at some point. Jesus Luzardo has never stayed on the field. Like he is not ever stayed on the field.
He hasn't been around for 8 years, but okay.
They're like the same age. I don't know if they're, but
not the same age.
And I mean that rotation in Miami is pretty stacked too. So I think he's going to be in it. I do. But like I said, this is a tough round to kind of figure out someone to fade. Let's move on to the next round. Who you going after there?
So this was I decided to choose a guy that I haven't talked about, but he was actually in our first pitch Arizona draft that we were talking about. He was I had back-to-back picks, so he was one of my first 2 picks coming back. I needed a catcher, and Danny Jansen was still on the board. The playing time is obviously, I mean, granted, for where we were picking, there was no catchers left who are getting the lion's share of playing time, but I do think that he'll play at least 3 out of 5 games. I'm hoping for more. Like you said, I'm hoping that there's a Kirk trade or a Jansen trade. I'd prefer him to be in this lineup, obviously, because it's a monster, but he's a guy who actually I always kind of expected to hit. I mean, in AAA and the majors in 2018, he had 15 homers. He's a guy who actually has some legitimate pop. I mean, his max EV is 111. He had an 8.5% barrel rate. He really improved down the stretch too. He was hitting the ball really well, and I think there's some upside there. And I'm seeing a lot about how he's really working on his hitting this offseason, working with some of the other. They have a couple good hitters in that lineup, right? Like 1 or 2. Yeah,
1 or 2.
Yeah.
Question is, will he be in that lineup, or will they trade him?
Well, that's true. But either way, he's using this offseason he's using their expertise to help him get better. And I think they probably will. And again, I think he's got some legit skills, and I think he's going to have a little bit of a breakout this year. So it'll be as like a late C2. I like him.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. God, this is a really interesting round of guys I like. I like Luis Patino. I talked extensively with Paul on the Sleeper and the Bus today about Vidal Brujan. So I won't go there. Yossi,
I'll have to listen to that because I'm interested to hear how he's going to find playing time there. But
I mean, that's the concern, right? I mean, we were talking about guys who have really, really impressive Steamer 600s. So for those who, those are if Steamer were to give them 600 plate appearances, this is what they would do. Now, obviously, Brujan's got to find the plate appearances, but like his biggest battle is going to be with Brett Phillips. Are we and Kevin Kiermaier? Like, are we and Paul's a big proponent that they're going to finally get rid of Kiermaier. I'm a little bit more skeptical of that because I don't know who's going to take on that Kiermaier contract.
Come hell or high water, huh? All right.
Yep, according to Paul. So, but the guy I want to talk about is J.P. Crawford. J.P. Crawford led off in Seattle. He performed really, really well. He doesn't have a ton of pop, but there is some speed in that profile. I think he could score a bunch of runs if he continues to lead off, which I think he will, at least at the beginning of the season. He's going really, really late, 3:15 for a starting shortstop that's going to lead off. Like, yeah, I'll take that, as my, second or third shortstop on my team. So I really like J.P. Crawford. He's definitely a guy I've been targeting in drafts.
I like that call. He had 89 runs last year, and their offense is only getting better this year. He's got a little bit of pop, 10, maybe 12 homers. And he's got some speed, 5, 6, 7 steals, something like that. And he hits for pretty good contact. He doesn't hit the ball hard, so I don't expect his average to be great, but I'd say something in the average, like 260, 265 is very doable.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that, if he's providing what you need at that point in the draft, I think that could make a lot of sense for you.
Absolutely. Who are you fading here?
I'm fading Kyle Lewis. I don't know that they're committed to playing Kyle Lewis. I think that they could very easily replace him. I just, he's coming off of a lot of injuries last year. He's got some talent. I just, the contact profile scares me. I just feel like I'm going to go other directions there. I don't feel good about the playing time. I don't feel great about the skills.
I'm going to disagree with you, but then end up in the long run agreeing with you. So I'm going to disagree with you in terms of the comment you said that you don't know that they are committed to playing Kyle Lewis.
Oh, they said that.
I think they are absolutely committed to playing Kyle Lewis. The problem is Kyle Lewis's body is not committed to playing baseball. Like, it just, he's been injury prone all throughout the minor leagues. I mean, people forget, like, this was a guy who was like a top 25 prospect at one point in the minors, but he kept getting hurt. And for that reason alone, like, I don't want to draft a guy that I don't feel confident can stay on the field. And as much as I love Kyle Lewis's skills, I do think he's a really talented player. I'm just not gonna draft him if I don't think he can stay healthy. Let's move on to the next round. Who you got?
All right, so picks 315 to 330. Now this is the time where I'm actually okay with a guy who is a platoon hitter, but is really, really good as a platoon hitter, but could actually also be a full-time hitter if given the opportunity, and that's Rowdy Tellez. He's a guy who can actually hit lefties. He's a left-handed hitter, and again, this is always my fear because lefties often get platooned, they get pigeonholed. But he actually hits. It's a 242 plate appearance sample. He's hit 264 against lefties. Not bad. Now, granted, he has a lot more power versus the righties. He's got 36 homers versus righties compared to only 8 versus lefties in his career, and he hits 241 against righties so far. But he's a guy who just has prodigious power, and they're going to play him every day in that. It's a good lineup too. I feel like at this point in the draft, that's something I'm looking for because I think there's some big upside there in the power department. I think he can hit 30. He's got a max EV of around 115. It was 117 in the short season, so we know that he can hit some rockets. 12% barrel rate. So yeah, I'm in on some Rowdy this year.
Yeah, we're getting some cheers from the crowd right now on your Rowdy Tellez love. Both Cubby, Nola, and Paul are big fans of Rowdy Tellez. I am too. I absolutely agree with you. I think he's a guy that will probably start out in a strong side platoon, but especially with the addition of the DH, could find himself in everyday playing time in a pretty good park and a good division to hit in. So I'm there with you guys. This is a hard one for me to find someone I really like. I'm a little surprised you didn't take Zach Plesac, who's going at 318 here, when you were taking him in the second round last year. Is it because he didn't make the video for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I had him as I was going to bump him down to like the 4th round maybe, but when he denied the cameo, and thank you, Zach, for denying to do the cameo. Yeah, I had to take him off my draft list completely.
I'm just going to send him a request every week until I get it.
I know you are. It's at this point in the draft, it's fine to take a shot on a guy like Plesac. But we're not beholden to what we thought last year. I let go of Plesac last year in June, so I don't care that he sucked the rest of the way.
Yeah, there's two guys that kind of stand out to me. One, Carlos Carrasco.
As your fade or the guy that you want?
The guys that I'm interested in, I necessarily want. Like, I'm definitely not targets here or anything, but I could see myself drafting. I just think that we've seen him be a top 30 pitchers before, and he had some loose bodies in his elbow removed. It wasn't Tommy John. Nothing structurally wrong. Says he feels good. Injury profile is scary. So I totally understand fading him. I don't know that he's going to end up. Yeah, I don't know that he's going to end up on very many of my teams this year. But he's someone interesting. The guy that I would target, I think, right here is Ian Kennedy, because I think once the CBA is figured out and they're signing things, like, he feels like the Mark Melancon of last year. The guy who kind of signs a little bit late, proven closer, goes to a team with a muddled situation.
It's either him or Colomé, right? It's one of the two. Because they both have that closer label.
Colomé was awful last year. It's the only difference. And Kennedy was decent. So,
yeah.
I think Kennedy could, end up in Philadelphia, end up in San Diego, end up in one of these kind of disjointed situations that we're kind of
San Diego feels like a good fit, honestly.
Yeah, especially when they just did the same thing with Melancon this last year.
Yeah.
So I feel like if especially if I'm like, oh man, I don't feel great about my saves at this point in the draft, I'll take a dart on Kennedy and hope that he lands in a really good spot. I literally in a league, it's a 30-team 100-man roster keeper league with contracts. I just picked up Kennedy for fairly cheap comparatively speaking, a lot of other contracts in this league today. Just because I was like, you know what, maybe there's a chance he's a closer when he signs and everything's all said and done.
Absolutely. He was the last, I think the last pick I made in the first pitch Arizona draft before before we stopped for the winter.
Paul's asking, did you try to get Plesac to show you some loose bodies?
Can we mute Paul? Is that a possibility?
No, this is fantastic. I'm gonna text Paul every time we record. Who are you fading here?
Oh,
there's a lot to fade.
Yeah, I mean, so this is another guy I took in the first pitch Arizona draft that I immediately regretted, and Patrick Wisdom. I mean, again, I was drafting with zero materials, zero prep. I had no idea his K percentage had reached 40.8%. He does not. I mean, that's disgusting. His contact rate is barely in the 60s at 61.6%. He hits the crap out of the ball. 114 max EV, 51% hard hit rate, 16% barrel rate. I mean, so if miraculously he's able to make more contact, he could become a monster. Like he's going to have huge streaks, but I think that those cold streaks are going to overshadow the hot streaks. So he's definitely a guy you can pick up off the waiver wire and ride him for, a week or two while he's hot, and then just ditch him because once he slows down, he's not a guy you want to ride out the cold streak on.
The only place I really want to take a shot on him is in a DC where I feel really good about my average floor. Because he's going to play. Like
until he doesn't, though. I mean, they
don't have anything.
People always say they don't have anybody, and then you see a Gavin Sheets come up and start. I mean, they will find people to put in if you are sucking at the level that he sucked last year in the second half.
Cubby Nola says if handsome was a heavily weighted stat, that I'm taking Wisdom 1.01
over Chris Bryant, really,
or Kevin Kiermaier, who they were talking about has beautiful eyes.
Okay, can't say I can picture Kevin Kiermaier right now, but
he's a good looking dude.
Right.
My wife would tell you.
Sure, she would.
Let's see, guy I'm fading in this round.
She'd probably tell me way more than that too than I ever needed to know.
She definitely would. So a guy I'm fading in this round is a guy that I've liked a lot in the past, and it's Austin Nola. One, they have Caratini there. Two, they have Luis Campusano in the minor leagues. And three, they traded for Jorge Alfaro this offseason. And what gave Austin Nola such value when he was in Seattle was that he was a catcher-eligible player that played in the field. He's not going to be doing that in San Diego. And I don't know that there's a ton of upside, and I don't know where the plate appearances come from. I won't be surprised if he gets traded in this once things open back up. I just think there are other catchers that I'm going to get more plate appearances from around here.
Yeah, I took – this was a rookie move, but I took him last year in NFBC in one of my leagues. Maybe this is super. Knowing that he was injured, and I was just like, I'll draft three catchers and I'll hold him because he was only supposed to be up 3 weeks. But I know better. I know that's bullshit. When people
made that same mistake.
When people tell you, they're only going to be out for the first month or the first couple of weeks, it's bullshit. They don't know. That's almost always optimistic. So always,
especially a catcher, it's the most injured position outside the pitcher. It just. And so you should
always assume it's double the time length, pretty much, or if they say 4 months, add another month to 5 months, but. Yeah, it was dumb. I tried to hold him thinking, oh, man, when he comes back, I think he's really, really good. And then he sucked, and he played half the time. And, he's got some talent there where if he is healthy and has the playing time. But like you pointed out, they have so many options there. Who knows what they're going to do there. And he's not good enough to be worth going at here.
No, and, he's not going to be one of these guys like Dalton Varsho or Tyler Stevenson that gets extra plate appearances, once they add a DH. They've got too talented of roster up and down, to have him hit in the lineup every day. So, all right, let's move on to the next round. I really like who you're picking here.
I love this guy, and it's Connor Joe. And I felt shitty that I didn't get him in the first pitch Arizona DC. Simeone jumped the gun on him. I thought he would make it back to me. But my God, this guy has everything. He hits great contact, 78.6% contact rate, 88% zone contact rate, 113 mile an hour max EV, That's pretty damn good. 39% hard hit rate, that's good. 10% barrel rate, that's good. And the guy doesn't really strike out. He had a sub 20% K rate, 19.4%, 8.9% swinging strike rate, says that's pretty legit. He also walks a lot. Very good plate selection, 12.3% walk rate last year. And, P.S., he's in Colorado. He was really good as their leadoff hitter last year while he was healthy. He did have off-season surgery, but I don't think it was anything that would affect him going into this season. He might be a little slow in spring training, but if this guy's hitting leadoff for the Rockies, he should be shooting way up the board from where he's going right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I know that and Paul just said, I was about to say, I know Paul's a big fan. FYI, Connor Joe was not making it back to you in any case.
That's fair.
Yeah, you wouldn't have made it past me either. So.
Yeah.
And he was my pick here. So we're just going to go to fades. This is really, I like Manny Margot, but he isn't going to play every day in Tampa Bay.
He is one of the most frustrating players to own because he's just good enough that you feel intrigued, but he's not good enough. Like he doesn't even play like 4 out of 5 games. He plays like 3 out of 5 games, or maybe like
he's going to get like 120 games. And
Manny Margot is a headache.
He's gonna produce well in those 120 games. But like you need him to get to the 150 to really.
What he gives you on a per game basis, you're losing in a volume capacity, because anybody who plays 5 out of 6 games or 6 out of 6 games doesn't even have to be as good as him to surpass what he's giving you.
Absolutely. All right, who are you fading in this round?
It's Sixto Sanchez. He had a shoulder injury. April 1st of 2021, then surgery July 22nd, 2021. And I looked into the history of the guys who in the past have the year after their shoulder surgery. It's never good. So you do not want him. You do not want Sixto this year in 2022. You want him 2023 maybe.
Yeah, and on that same kind of token, Steven Strasburg. I was out last year when people were drafted in the top 100. I'm still out on him now. He's going outside the top 300. I need to see him on the mound pitching well over.
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, before I'm gonna go back to it. So
he had no feeling in his fingers before.
Yeah.
He is like basically the Byron Buxton of pitchers.
Yeah, this is and it's unfortunate, but like I don't know that he's coming back from this at all. So you put no one for round 24 in terms of that you like.
Everybody going in this. There is between 345 and 360. I looked at this for about 20 minutes trying to find something about someone that got me excited, and I had nothing. I eventually landed on Brian Anderson. Here's what I got. He should play close to every day. He steals some bases. That's all I got.
Okay. I'm not super enthused. I'm not super enthused by Brian Anderson, but I am interested in Ha-Seong Kim.
Okay, I've heard this from a number of people. Please sell me on this.
Okay, so last year he played just under 300 plate appearances. All right?
Yeah.
Just prorate it. Just prorate the 300 plate appearances.
Oh yeah, that totally always works.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like if he were to get to 600 plate appearances, I think he could be a 2020 guy. We know he's got speed. He's shown enough pop already in the majors.
If I'm prorating, prorating is 1612, fucking 2020. Get out of here.
But he did that. He did those 300 plate appearances over 107.
Yeah, okay.
Over 117 games. He was doing a lot of pinch hitting, pinch running. I'm telling you, like,
if he's pinch running, his stolen base numbers are probably a little inflated. No.
No. He's got legit speed, dude. Like he's fast. He can steal. Like addition of the DH now in the National League, I think there's a real chance he could get to 500 plate appearances and be, a 2020 guy. I give him a pass on 2021. Didn't speak the language, first time in country, learning on the fly, really struggling out the gate, but he got better as the season went on. really started being able to pick up breaking stuff and catch up to high velocity, which, they just don't see that kind of high velocity in the Korean leagues. And he just got better. Now, I'm not saying that this is like for sure, but I'm saying, like, you talking about drafting for upside this late. This is a guy who's got upside.
Do we not think that they're going to add anybody else? Like, do you think that they're going to say, okay, you hit 202 for us last year, but we're going to be committed to giving you a full-time job? And I'm just asking. Maybe they will. I have no idea.
I think if they add someone, they're going to add in the bullpen, to be honest.
I mean, do they only have one available slot to add, or you just don't think they want to spend money?
I mean, they've already spent a lot of money. I don't know. I mean, they had opportunity to spend money on guys that were out there and early, and they didn't.
Okay.
So, I mean, if they do, then they do. Like, if I blow pick 340, oh well,
Yeah.
I'm not super worried about it. You cut and you move on. But
I like him better as a main event pick than a DC pick because I can drop him in that. I don't know. But I mean, hey, in this section of the draft, I don't blame you for that pick at all. And I heard Toby talking him up too. I don't know. I'm not there yet, but I get that he probably is the right upside play in here.
Yeah. All right, moving right along to round. Oh no, we're our fades in round 24.
Yeah. So
this one's gonna piss Paul off. I can't wait.
Oh, God damn it. So I went with Pavin Smith.
And I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really there. I mean, he doesn't strike out. That's nice. I mean, he could give you a 270 average, but there's no power, there's no speed. I mean, the barrel rate is 5%. The max EV is 111, which is fine, but he's got 92% zone contact rate. He makes good contact. He just what am I getting out of him?
It's so boring. It's so boring.
And it's a first baseman. I mean, I guess he's first base and outfield eligible, but there's pretty much I'd rather go any other direction in this range than him.
Yeah, it's
Arizona. Arizona again is another team that doesn't play guys every day. They'll play them. He might play 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 7 games or something like that, but he's not going to play every day. So I'm out.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Oh man, like this is a round of guys like that I feel so meh about.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily hate anybody. Anybody that I like. I mean, Yandy Diaz. Like I don't like. I understand people still look at the muzzles and go, at some point he's going to figure it out. But
I mean, he needs to figure out his launch angle is the problem. And even when he did for a half a season, it didn't carry over. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of guys that I don't like Alex Reyes. What are you doing with that pick?
We're talking about relievers. Like, I mean, yeah. I guess there's talk that he's going to be a starter. I don't buy that for a minute. I absolutely do not
hard
buy
pass.
Alex Reyes as a starter.
I mean, no.
I mean, I don't buy him as a pitcher at this point. He's got to learn how to not walk people.
Yeah, he is so far removed from anything resembling being good that I don't no interest, especially as a starter, but even as a reliever.
Yeah. So Paul's asking, isn't Reyes supposed to start? He is, but I don't buy that he's going to be a starter. I think he's going to end up being a multi-inning reliever. Is what I think he's going to end up.
Yeah, probably.
So I think he's going to end up being like a log man, which
I don't think he'll be very good either. So I think it's a wasted pick.
Yeah, and Paul agrees. So let's go ahead and move on into the next round. We're talking about round 25. Oh, the final round, picks 360 through 375. Who you got?
Yeah, a guy who had some injury issues last year, but Evan Longoria. I actually like him a lot. He's a guy that I will be trying to get in a lot of DCs. He's one of the few guys that the Giants actually play every day, and I do know that. I was tracking him last year, and he was extremely usable when I was looking for a guy to pick up whenever they were going to go to Coors or they had 7 games in a week or anything. Like, he would always be available on the wire in 12s, and he's still got good pop. 113 max EV last year, 13.5% barrel rate, huge, 54.5% hard hit rate. Good contact, 76.5% contact rate, 82.8% zone contact rate. So I mean, he hits in the middle of the order. And I know he wasn't healthy last year, but he's been healthy pretty much every other year since 2012. So, yeah, I just think he's a very solid pick here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He's going to play. He plays good enough defense that keeps him in the lineup. As long as he's healthy. The question is, can he stay on the field? God, this is kind of an ugly round.
Well, we are 360 to 375.
Yeah. Now, so I mean, I guess I should just meme out with Kyle Gibson. And
I almost picked him just to try to upset you, but I didn't know if it would. So
no, I mean, I love my boy Kyle Gibson. I think I know he struggled, after being traded out of Texas, but he's a guy who's figuring out the National League. So I think he could easily rebound, and I think he's just going to kind of be a horse for them and kind of volume his way into fantasy relevance. So if you're looking for a guy who can get innings late, around 25 in your DC, I don't have a problem with that. Jose Barrio is an interesting guy if he can find if he can find playing time. I think they need to move some guys because they seem weirdly attached to Kyle Farmer. So I don't know.
I do know some smart people who very much like Nick Pivetta, but I have not been able to figure out. That's what I don't know. I don't know. No. I think Lorenzo Cain is a solid pick here too.
I do too.
Late Seals. With Avisail gone now, yeah,
he can steal 15 bases as long as he's healthy. The question is, will he be healthy? So.
Right. And again, if he's not, you just take him out of your lineup, whatever. It's a DC. But I think he should play close every day, especially with the DH there and Avisail gone. So
yeah. And another interesting guy that he just falls right outside of this range, so I'll mention him. Kyle Finnegan. I think Kyle Finnegan is the closer. I know a lot of people are getting excited about Tanner Rainey, but this goes right back to this discussion I had with people, argument I had with people about the Nationals closer situation coming off of their World Series run. And in 2020, people were like, they were going to Tanner Rainey. It's Tanner Rainey time. It's Tanner Rainey time. And who did they go to in the World Series? They went to Daniel Hudson. Well, let's go back and check the tape. Who did they go to in September as the closer? They went to Finnegan. Clearly he's going to be given the first shot. Yes, is Tanner Rainey's skills better? Absolutely. But managers almost always go to the guy they feel they can trust, right? The proven guy. And that's Finnegan at this point. So
neither of them are trusted or proven or anything. They both kind of suck if we're being honest. But yeah, I think there's a good chance that Finnegan starts with the role. So that's ultimately in a league that you can drop guys. Even in a DC at this point, you can take them and hope you can get some saves on them and then move on from them. It's fine.
What I've been trying to do is get both. But
okay.
I try to handcuff them. But if I got to prioritize,
I feel like some random guy is going to come out of nowhere and end up closing there. In my opinion,
it happens.
Yeah, exactly. So
it happened in Washington. Remember when everybody thought Coda Glover was the dude?
Yeah. I do.
And people were arguing over whether it was going to be Coda Glover or Sean Kelly. And then, after the season started, they traded for Blake. Was it Blake Trinan that they traded for? I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
So it was somebody.
I will say there's a guy in the bullpen named Patrick Murphy who I think is a dark horse for saves at some point too. I mean, he's nothing special, but I think he has the right skills to close. I mean, he throws 97. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. Strikeout rate 9.3 K per nine. Solid. Decent, I guess, but just a guy who I think could end up with some saves, considering I have zero faith in Finnegan or Rainey. I ended up taking Rainey in first pitch because Greg was so big on him. He was he's the big closer guy, and he was like,
we had him on Sleeper in the Bus this weekend, and he's definitely in the Rainey camp.
Right. Yeah. He thinks the Rainey's the guy there. I have no idea. Austin Voth.
Yeah. Paul's up all about Austin Voth for closer. Paul, it's now, let's see, it's midnight Central Time, so Paul's high at this point. So, which makes sense. So that is going to do it for this episode. Dave, remind everybody where to reach the social media, and then plug anything you got going on.
Yeah, I am at Run D McD. Make sure to add that D. Going on, yes. So in the next 10 days, I'm on SP Streamer tomorrow. Then Thursday, I'm on RotoWire with James Anderson and Toby Gavin, Batflip Crazy. And then I also have my pod, High Stakes Heat. And then Sunday, I'm on with Eric Cross, with you, right?
With me?
Aren't you? No? Maybe
no, I think it's just you. He just asked us both at the same time.
Okay. All right. I guess I didn't. No, I think we are on together, dude. I'm pretty sure we're on together. Yeah, I think we're doing First Baseman together.
Okay.
Just
I'll have to double check.
Always with it. And then I'm on with Kev, the rotosurgeon, the operating table on Monday. And then I'll be doing FWFB with you on Monday. And then we have PitchCon coming up, and you and I are doing a panel on Saturday for that. In addition to your, I mean, there's no PitchCon will be what, 3-4 days?
Yeah, I think it starts. I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So, and you and I are together on Saturday.
Saturday at 4. Yeah. But you guys should definitely tune into as much. I mean, there's a lot of panels that look really, like really going to be.
My wife is doing a panel on Saturday morning. So she's going to be a part of a panel. They're going to draft baseball moments, I think. The best baseball moments of all time.
If you're looking for good information for fantasy baseball, that's not the panel to listen in on. But but we do love Danielle, and I'm sure it's going to be entertaining.
Mm-hmm. You can reach me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. Email me or the show, friendsfantasybenefits@gmail.com. You can hear me on this podcast, the Sleeper in the Bus podcast, and TGFBI podcast, which will be starting up here soon. Sign up for TGFBI. Sign-ups go through the end of the month. Very important to get your sign-ups in. You can also sign up for a satellite if you're not in the industry and want to try to win your way in. And then, let's see, like I said, PitchCon is coming up next weekend. I am dropping updates of all my ranks over on Fangraphs this week. And then next week I'll be doing other stuff. I can't remember what I'm writing about next week yet. But that is going to wrap us up for this episode. For Dave and myself, thank you for listening. Have fantastic baseball